Hello everyone, and welcome back to Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. I recently did a short video about the Queen Mother and why she was so popular, so I decided to expand on that idea because the Queen Mother seemed like such a great personality. The Queen Mother was a member of the Old Guard. She was born when Queen Victoria was alive, so she was held in regard by the public. The Queen Mother, she had many suitors, and when she met Albert, Queen Elizabeth's dad, he proposed to her 3 times before she accepted. She was quoted as saying she felt afraid never again to be free to think, speak, and act as I feel, as I really ought to. After the marriage in 1923, Elizabeth devoted herself to her family and her duties as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of York. She and Bertie had 2 children, Princess Elizabeth, who became future Queen Elizabeth II, and Princess Margaret. So let's take just a quick look at her life. Lady Elizabeth was educated at home, and by the age of 10, she was fluent in French. So her daughter Elizabeth was fluent in French too. In 1923, in January, became the announcement of her engagement to Her Royal Highness the Duke of York, Prince Albert Frederick Arthur George, the King and Queen's second son. And so they were married on April 26, 1923, in Westminster Abbey. She and Prince Charles had a close relationship. When she died, Prince Charles said the Queen Mother meant everything to him and that she was quite simply the most magical grandmother you could possibly have. He previously shared this sentiment in 2002 when he spoke at her funeral. For me, she meant everything, and I had dreaded the moment along with, I know, countless others, he said. Somehow I never thought it would come. She seemed gloriously unstoppable, and since I was a child, I adored her. So the Queen Mother attended the funeral of her daughter Margaret, even though she was in poor health, and she was like 101 at that time. The Queen Mother was 3 minutes late, but she arrived in a wheelchair, and Margaret's funeral service took place on the 50th anniversary of the Queen Mother's, her husband's death. The Queen Mother left shortly after the funeral service came to an end and was taken back to her home at Royal Lodge. So let's find out what she did for fun. According to the Royal.uk, in 1952, Queen Elizabeth moved out of Buckingham Palace to Clarence House in St. James's Palace. In 1953, she bought the Castle of May in the extreme northeast of Scotland and spent time there each year in August and October. The Queen Mother always found time to pursue her love of the countryside and sport. She was a keen and expert fisherwoman and enjoyed horse racing and being a leading owner of steeplechasers. Her personality? Well, the Queen Mother and King George VI had a happy marriage together. He was a shy man and not really the person you would have expected to run the Commonwealth, but the Queen Mother helped him. It was all due to the Queen Mother that she found a speech therapist that helped the king to work through his stammer that he had, because she knew he'd be making public appearances and couldn't be doing that all the time. So she stood by his side during public events and was extremely supportive for all his duties as king. And then her husband died at the age of 56, and the Queen would live 50 more years without him. The Queen Mother wore black for a year after the death of her husband, and then Prime Minister Churchill tried to nudge her out of being in permanent mourning by saying not to be like Queen Victoria, who wore black the rest of her life after the death of her husband Albert. So the Queen Mother kind of snapped out of it, on all kinds of public appearances and engagements. The Queen Mother holds things together. So when Prince Albert's brother, the king, left the throne because he couldn't marry a divorced woman, Albert needed his wife's support because he really didn't feel like he would ever have been a king, and now all of a sudden he became one. So she had to help restore the public faith in the monarchy, tarnished by the abdication crisis, and she did that superbly. So the girls were sent to Windsor Castle to be away from the bombs during World War II, and she and her husband stayed at Buckingham Palace. So Buckingham was bombed during the Blitz, and the Queen often visited bomb-ravaged areas of London, chatting with displaced residents. It was during this time that she started the tradition of wearing clothes in pastels like blue, dusty pink, and lilac, so people could spot her easily. Her famous big hats were designed to turn up so that people could see her face. She remained popular. After the death of her husband, the Queen Mother's daughter, Elizabeth, became the Queen. And the Queen Mother remained on as most popular member of the royal family. And she had a love of horse racing, and she loved to drink gin. And according to Britannica.com, many credit the Queen Mother with setting the tone for modern British monarchy. She eased formalities, and she had a great rapport with the public. And she had an enduring sense of fun and boundless energy that caused her to be loved and admired. When she turned 80 years old, she gave up her favorite pastime of fishing. Now we come to the sad part where the Queen Mother passed away. She passed away April 2002. She was 101. Great Britain held 10 days of national mourning. The Queen Mother died in her sleep, and although she lived a very long life, the nation of Great Britain grieved their loss. The Washington Post stated at the time of her death, people lined the gate of Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, and Windsor Castle with flowers in her honor. The state bell, located in St. Paul's Cathedral, rang for an hour to commemorate her life, and members of the public began signing condolence books in her memory. After her death, the Queen Mother lied in state from April the 6th until April 9th. A royal funeral was held at Westminster Abbey, and her body was taken to the royal vault at Windsor, and her coffin was placed next to her husband's. Queen Elizabeth dressed in black and made the following statement regarding her mother. Ever since my beloved mother died over a week ago, I have been deeply moved by the outpouring of affection which has accompanied her death, she said. My family and I always knew what she meant for the people of this country, but the extent of the tribute that huge numbers of you paid on my mother in the last few days has been overwhelming. The Queen then said that she and her family had found great comfort in the support and kindness that they had received in the wake of the Queen Mother's death. And while it was a period of mourning for the nation, she was blessed to have spent so much time with the monarch. She had an infectious zest for living, and this remained with her until the very end. So Queen Elizabeth said it well. The Queen Mother had a zest for living until the very end. She made anyone she talked to felt like they were the only one she wanted to talk to. She helped her husband and then her daughter in their royal duties, and she kept the royal tradition and monarchy going during times of danger, namely during World War II. Afterwards, she was always helping members of the royal family, preserving traditions that people in the country had become accustomed to, and she gave them stability and gave her family stability. And she kind of modernized the monarchy too by being so open with the public. The Queen Mother had hesitated before she agreed to the proposal of the future King George VI, but after that she was in it for the long haul and really enjoyed all the time being a member of the royal family. And we are glad she married King George. Who knows how things would have turned out without her. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, if you could give it a thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated. And also by clicking the notification bell, if you haven't already, you'll find out when the next video is ready to watch. I hope everybody's been having a good day, and tune in again soon for another episode of Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. Thank you. Bye.